Welcome back to part 11 of your letters. Alright, so let's continue. The actual Nubian word for black, Uru, the indigenous people of Nubian have their own word for black, which sounds nothing like Nub, Noob, or Nuwapu. How York manufactured Nuwabu. York took the Arabic letters Nun Wabe, which he phonetically rendered as Noob or Nuwabu to mimic the sound of the word Nubian. He then stripped away the actual classical Arabic definition, taking turns in the actual Nubian definition gold, inventing a complete fabricated definition black to tie his followers to a methodolized etymology. Linguistically, the real Nubian word proves that Nawabu or Noob has never meant black in either Arabic or the native languages of the Nubian people themselves. Look at that. I ask, what does these words infinite, finite, right knowledge, wisdom, right understanding, meant, and kemet, and what glyphs would represent them? Google responds, in ancient Egyptian kemet, there are no direct word for word equivalents for modern abstract concepts like finite or right, overstanding or understanding. Instead, the Egyptians expressed these ideas through specific cosmic, physical, and administrative terms. All right, so man, we finna go back to it again, finna break it down. What language did the Nawapu come from? Answer, Nawap was an ancient Nubian word, which we already discovered is a lie, which is right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, finite and infinite to know, according to Lanes. Now, so infinite in the glyphs is he, or dijet, nehe, okay? Which all this stuff gonna make a whole lot of sense when we get further down, okay? So here you have he, and you have dijet, meaning eternity, and here you have the flash ropes with the symbol in it. I think the circle symbol in the middle. All right, infinity and eternity. All right, so this, we're taking it back because we know that this goes back to Kemet, which we already showed in other definitions. That's what Afrona was doing when he even brought out the word Nawapu. All right, so now we're taking it back to its root. So we have infinite. The meaning, eternal, infinite, or boundless. The glyphs, C11. The Godhead sitting with arms raised holding palm ribs. This is the primary symbol for infinity, or 1 million. V28 in the Gardeners list, I9, G43, X1, and N16. The jet, representing linear, unchanged eternity, V28, N5, and V28, Nehet, representing cyclical eternity like the sun rising and setting. All right, this is Nawapu's hieroglyphic description that Amenubi Rakapata, Afro-Unu described the glyph in English in the Bible interpretation and explanation booklets 1 and 2, 1967 to 1968, and knew we would find its physical representation. All right, so we're reading from the books that Afro-Unu wrote under Amenubi Rakapata. It says, what is Nawapu? Nawapu is pronounced Nuwapu, not Nuwabu. The meaning of the word Nawapu is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Nawapu is all knowledge, all wisdom, all understanding, finite, and infinite. Nawapu is the science of sciences and the science in sciences. And that only makes sense when you understand that that he's using the glyphs and he turned it into English and expanded it. So if Nawapu was being associated with infinity and eternity, that means that's what it means when it's the science of science. It means it's the original. It's the science of the universe. Verses. You understand? This is what Afro-Unu was saying when you trace it back in its correct way. All right, so what Afro-Unu did was describe what our ancestors did with the Medu Neter and glyphs and wrote it in English because we as a race forgot how to draw it, write it, and speak it. So when you see words infinite and eternity in his writings, you can place the meanings in noon signs and interchange them with the glyphs. All right? This coming out the nature books. Listen to reason. The one supreme being called eternal, infinite, right? That's He, Dijet, absolute almighty nature, is perceived to be global or round like its universes, stars, planets, and satellites. Although it is infinite in all directions, the one supreme being could be conceived to be finite and limited in distance like its members and parts. Although it is infinity, the one supreme being could be presumed to be what? Mortal and limited. See? This is talking about the one supreme being. Perceived as a what? A body with parts. See? In time like its forms and offsprings, although it is everlasting and eternity. The unique supreme being could be comprehended to be what? Limited in what? Body and power like its what? Persons and things, although it is absolute and almighty. Nature Book 2, page 18 in part. As you can see, that hair and he head represents what? A human body, and also the one supreme being and the smack circle, not just the two frog-headed deities. Look at this. Don't miss. All right, so this here is from the Nature Books 3. As you can see, look, infinity, eternity, totality. Infinity, totality, right? This is the geometric form of he had, because all this is millions of years in eternity. So this is why I say that Afro said that the one supreme being could be considered global, but also limited, and use the word body. We know that body in this case is dealing with the favorite form of the human being of the God, who is the physical, is the human body. So this is another form of the smack circle in a limited format. This is the one supreme being in its infinite, limited self. All right? Here's where the frog-headed deities had and he had come from. When I asked Kuira Upulupu to merge frog eyes with the smack or the Ma'at circle, reveals what our ancestors knew, and Afro updated it in for our race and the world by extension in modern languages we speak. So again, this is what I told her to make. So as you can see, when you turn the smack circle on its side, it looks like the eyes of a frog, right? And he had the Ogdoad is considered frogs.
The Ogdoad of Hermopolis. The Ogdoad is an ancient pantheon of deities who were known throughout history as the Eight or simply the Primordial. They were classified as cosmic deities, and in literature they're found in the pyramid texts of the Old Kingdom. They're referred to as a very ancient pantheon whose worship had long since fallen away, given to the new pantheon led by Atum Ra. These were associated with creation itself, the very primordial waters, and they came to us from the earliest settlers of the Nile River Valley civilizations. These people believed that before the world was formed, there was a watery mass of dark, directionless chaos. In this chaos lived the Ogdoad. They were a group of 4 pairs of deities that the ancient Egyptians simply referred to as the Eight. And they were the personifications of the primeval forces of chaos. There was Noon and his wife Nonet, who symbolized primordial waters. Cook and Coquette, who represented darkness. Ha and Hahet, who represented the eternity of space, where Amon and Amonet represented the invisible or the hidden force. As cosmic gods, they were represented in anthropomorphic form. Oftentimes they were conceived as chthonic animals, the males appearing as frogs while the females were represented as snakes.
But these are actually terms. Those Ogdoad also represent the planets, which I went into that in a different video, especially with my tarot and stuff. But that's what it represents. All right. finite, men, or art. There is no standalone philosophical word for finite in Kemet text. Boundaries and limits were expressed through verbs meaning to fix, to anchor, or to count. The meaning is to be fixed, settled, or restricted within boundaries. The glyphs Y5 in the Gardener's List, a Senate game board used for the sound men representing stability or being fixed in place. D21 and Z1 are a border, limit, or boundary, or a boundary line. So these are the hieroglyphs, Y5, D21, Z1, all right? The meaning to be fixed, settled, or restricted within boundaries, a Senate game board used for the sound man representing stability or being fixed in place, a border, limit, or boundary line, all right? This is dealing with the smat circle in a state of being infinite but still being limited at the same time, okay? This is what this is saying. It represents a fixed state. These symbols are describing on the highest levels the one supreme being at the smat, space, matter, and time circle, and the lines and boundaries within the smat circle. See, these are boundaries. All these lines, that's what these represent. These are lines, okay? The lines that the Y5 glyph represent. D21. Now we finna get into that. The God who is depicted as a man with a modified hieroglyph for tongue above the head. This glyph represents the mouth. In Noon science, it represents Hu, the god of utterance. The lines are the smat circles, the human form and the oval shape of our pygmy god and goddesses were in during the top half. Listen to reason. The human form is the favorite form of the god Hu, the ancient god of utterance, and therefore the human figure is that of the pygmy gods and goddesses of the top half of the smat circle of order during the time that the top half exists. Hence, peoples and apes basically evolved away from the human form, which is somewhat round-like figures, toward a lesser figure, which is a straight or wavy line. In other words, evolution of persons, apes, and things is not toward the human round forms, but toward the serpent forms. The word human is a variant of the word haman, is a variant of the word Amun, also called Amen or Amen. The ancient god Amun was always shown in a form similar to those of the flesh and blood gods of the top half of the order circle. Hence, we get the word human or Hamun in the figure human. The name Hu is another name for the god Amun or Hamun. Human beings had to be evolving from one form and toward another. We indeed were evolving from the human form, the pygmy god and goddesses form, toward the serpent form, and we humans would develop tails like other animals if we were to evolve much further in time. So he's saying that humans in general, not the Caucasian that have the cockat's tail that extends out the back. That is showing you that if we all kept evolving, which is a downward trend, we all would go toward the serpent form. So stop repeating York's one-sided, non-medical, biologically, no degree, 9th grade dropout having ass keep trying to tell you what's what. He didn't go to school for nothing. I never heard it was a laboratory on any of your properties. All right. Animals have tails resembling the serpent because they are modified forms of the serpent, physically and also what? Spiritually. And that's why you have certain animals that hiss like snakes. They are not snakes. Cats hiss, certain type of alligators hiss. It's other types of animals that make that hissing serpent sound, which is amazing when you think about it. Of course, the tails of animals were beneficial to them as insect repellents, balancing factors, and protective covers for their rectums and so on. Wherever possible during evolution, all persons and things evolved toward the straight and wavy lines, just as all persons and things during revolution, wherever possible, must revolve towards the oval and round lines as the revolution cycle progresses. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Nature Book 2, pages 120 and 121. Wisdom, Sa or Sia. S32, wisdom in Kemet was divided into two concepts: administrative wisdom, understanding the text, teachings, and divine wisdom, Sia, the personification of intellectual perception, the meaning, wisdom, perception, or intellectual insight. The glyphs, S32. This is Sia or Sa. Remember, knowledge, wisdom is our states of minds, but they had glyphs for this. Standards thereof equally. Yet it is the fact that all ethnic races must learn where their places are on planet Earth and stay there for the sake of peace and place for each other. So someone who has the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom has to blueprint the action and point the way, and that person is Nupu with the science noon written by Alpha Uno. So this again goes to some of these dummies out here that keep saying that Alpha Uno didn't go outside and he didn't teach and all of that. He wasn't a liberator. It clearly tells you that Nupu is the one, and it's called a Nupu the person at this point, right? And it says what? To blueprint the action and point the way, and that person is what? Nupu with the signs noon written by Alpha Uno at this time. Once we get into a true culture and all that, once everybody get in their place, then the kingdom gets set up, and then a human being, male or female of the African race, chosen by the people in Nupu, that's when you'll have somebody outside where it be safe. Anybody that came outside before then was insane or didn't know no better. Alpha Uno had this common sense to stay out of the public because he knew they had people getting set up for coming out trying to do that. All right? So once again, Nupu is the liberator at this moment in time. There's no physical person that's going to be doing that until after the cataclysm is set up in Africa. Nature Books 2, page 207 and part. Listen to reason. 9 nature exists in the positive and 6 nature exists in the negative. Whereas understanding nature is learning what? Knowledge of nature, accepting that knowledge to what? Perception of it. Wisdom of nature is indeed knowing how and when to use knowledge, as well as right use of knowledge and by extension insight and inspiration. Knowledge is correct, information is truth. If one is not prejudiced against facts, correct information, and he or she is willing and ready to accept the truth, correct information, no matter what a burden fall, that person is not only wise, but also a person of rightness. A nature wise individual is the one who learns facts, accepts them, understands them, adheres to facts. A person, wisdom, reason, and rightness is the one who stands on his own merits, positive or negative, without trying to put the blame off on someone else. Nature Book 1, page 264. And again, the books clearly tells those who accept information, they were supposed to be out there teaching. There's nowhere in there that it said Alpha Uno had to do that. He had to go do all this looking and finding and researching and promoting and putting the books together. He was never told to go out and do that. And he keep trying, and his slaves, the Sabians, keep trying to compare York and Alpha Uno as if they was the same. They're not the same. They did not have the same directives. All right? York, like the rest of them that's out here that's getting locked up, whether they guilty or innocent, they're the ones who are following Zupu. Nupu doesn't tell Alpha Uno to go out there because Nupu cares about Alpha Uno's well-being. When we look at everybody else then who got caught up, do you see this is why Nupu knew what they were doing? That's intelligence. Other glyphs associated with wisdom, M23. So here you have M23, which is a sign of a plant. When you look at the diagrams in the nature books, Nupu is represented by the plants.
Remember always and let it be known.
In the bottom half is ruled by animals. And this is what you have. You have people down here being beasts. When they talk about the devil is the mark of the what? The beast, the animals, the zodiacs. People out here fighting like cats and dogs, killing each other. No intelligence. The plants represent what? Peace. Peacefulness. But you got a lot of people in the conscious community and around that abuse that word. Peace, God. Peace, Queen. Peace, King. We the only group that say true peace and represent the peaceful, most intelligent part of nature. All right? Again, let's continue. I asked Google, what is the M23 glyph and what did it mean? Google responds, king or royalty. It served as an ideogram for Nasut, meaning king or he of the sage, because the sage plant was the regional heraldic emblem of what? Upper Egypt, the southern region that came to directly denote royal authority, dynastic power in the pharaoh. Listen to the reason. According to mundane scientists, there are two major categories of physical life, plants and animals. In Nupu's dominion, heaven, 999 are plants, and plants are naturally peaceful and quiet and beautiful. Nature Book 1, page 25 in part. I asked Google why the sage plant was called a heraldic emblem. Google responds, the M23 glyph is called a heraldic image because it served as the official political emblem representing what? The sovereign geographic territory of Upper Egypt, the southern region. In ancient statecraft, a heraldic symbol is a visual badge used to signify authority, kingdom, lineage, and territory. Much like a coat of arms or a national flag today, the M23 glyph, which depicts a stylized sage plant, function exactly in this political manner. The dual emblems of the two lands. The terminology arises from Egypt's fundamental political structure as the two lands, Tawi. The country was viewed as a dual kingdom with each half represented by its own sacred native heraldic plant. Upper Egypt, the south, represented heraldically by the sage plant. Lower Egypt, the north, represented heraldically by the papyrus plant, the M13 glyph. Whenever a pharaoh wanted to display their total sovereign authority over the unified nations, artists would intertwine the M23 sage and the papyrus around a long and a windpipe sign, a monumental heraldic motive known as the Semitawi, the unification of the two lands. Once again, symbology. This is the ancient Kemet's version of the smat circle. And they knew that Upper Egypt, which is the upper half, top half of plants, where Nupu, originally the best mind of the one supreme being, was ruling in the plant where it was peaceful. But in the bottom half, which is the upper Egypt, where all of the people invaded at, it's the same thing. We calling that the lower side of the smash circle, or our ancients call that the duat. The underworld, lower Egypt. The underworld, which is upper. lower. So this is what we're talking about. We in the bottom half of existence. So Lower Egypt on a bigger scale, universally, is in the Duat. We all in Lower Egypt. That's why so much hell going on, and our ancestors knew that. And Osiris is the god of it all at this point. Excuse me. Structure, function, and royal titles. Because M23 was a heraldic badge of Southern kingship, it became embedded directly into the pharaoh's formal titular protocol. The most famous royal title, the Nisit, or the Nisut Biti name, translates literally to he of the sedge and the bee. Now, when you go to Afro Unu, aka Johnny Eugene Brown obituary, it says what? Johnny was always a seeker, an independent thinker, a true Brown trait, and businessman. He used his entrepreneur talents. He opened what? The Bumblebee, a novelty store in Brooklyn. Now, why would he do that? Think about that. Out of all the things, why would you open up something called the Bumblebee novelty? Let's keep going, shall we? You go to Quira Upu Nupu YouTube page. She made videos dealing with the pygmy gods and how they connect to the bees. And there's more videos on her YouTube. But this is stuff right here. Look, the bumblebees and the pygmy gods updated. All right. Why the Afro create the bumblebee amusement device, part 2. Why the Afro create the bumblebee amusement device, part 3. Once again, they saying that a kingship and a ruler symbol was the sedge, and it means he of the sedge and the bee. So we know that the sedge is a plant. We know that Afro brought the nature books, and they tell you that Nupu is associated with the plants. Our ancestors in Kemet knew that was this because they represent royalty. But let's keep it going for the non-believers in the back. So in this compound title, the M23 sedge plant stands alone as the heraldic logogram, meaning what? King of Upper Egypt. Look at that. So we know that the Upper Egypt, again, is in the top half. That's where Nupu reigns. Nupu doesn't rule in the bottom half.
The sedge and the bee on top of 2 half circles. So it says the third emblematic plant of ancient Egypt was the sedge. As far back as the first dynasty, the sedge plant symbolized Upper Egypt and the royalty. Sometimes it was shown together with the symbol of a bee or biddy, representing Lower Egypt, and the two were incorporated into one of the pharaoh's titles, designating him as ruler of Upper and Lower Egypt. Now we can see here is a great replication of the sedge and the bee. Where the plant is Nupu, the bee is the bottom half, and those are the 2 sides of the smack circle of order.
If you want to keep exploring how this ties back to your studies, let me know. Would you like to look at the M26 flower emblem of this heraldic sign? Are you interested in the metaphysical or medicinal properties the Egyptians attributed to the sedge plant itself? My response was no. The nature book uses the term king, herald, and pharaoh. We shall deal with the first 2 words. 1, it says here, out the nature book, listen to the reason. The physical representative, the king or queen, must be a what? A role model who sets the right and proper example for others by what? Adhering to Noon and the laws thereof. All right, so we know that York is disqualified because York brought religion. All right, he did not represent Noon. You did not see him speak about Newport, none of that stuff when he was out. Okay, we know this to be proof. All right, who sets the right and proper example for others for adhering to what? Noon and the laws thereof. So evidently, Afro is being considered a role model because he was the one that was sent. So all this stuff about he wasn't outside, according to who? Because you didn't see him, a person went outside. That's like me saying that God rule ain't never outside because I don't see it. That's foolishness. Just because you don't see a thing doesn't mean it don't exist. Or that somebody's not doing something. He said Nupu and Noon are what? The true and real guide. The ruler, king, or queen is the leader in accordance with what? The guide. The foremost purpose of the ruler is to maintain for himself and all other members of what? The kingdom society. See, it's no kingdom society for us over here. So this is also speaking about what? In the future. The fulfillment of the constitution of what? The kingdom, and make decisions of society together with his or her helpers. So a kingdom is not an organization or a neighborhood or two that York had when he was in New York. That does not constitute a kingdom. A kingdom is like a whole acres and acres of land and sometimes whole continents. Okay? The ruler is the what? The physical god or goddess. This again excludes York. York always talked about the female was the ruler and the head, but you never seen no female ruling and running things. It was always him dominating. He's excluded. The physical primate, prelate, highest priest, and the physical sole ruler. Look, the king or queen, who is the person of the personification and what? Incarnation of Nupu. York is definitely disqualified because York said he was an incarnation of Murdoch and Tahuti. That is not Nupu. Okay? The ultimate ruler in almighty absolute nature. The physical ruler must be what? Elected by the people of society every 9 years. So this definitely excludes York and the whole cult that he created. York does not fit any of this because nobody chose York from a group of people. York said he was chosen by aliens. He's excluded once again. Or removed from power before the 9-year term is up. So show me where York was holding something to be done every 9 years that they ran for somebody else to stay in power or removed out of power. You don't see it. The 9-year term is up. If he or she deviates from the guide is Nupu and Noon and its commandment laws. York did not show y'all nothing about the commandment laws that are in the back of the nature books, book 2. Okay, and it's 80 of those laws. York gave y'all religious, broken up versions and made up stuff like making brothers go out and make $100 a day. And if they didn't bring back $100 a day, they get beat. And if they bring back the money, they will be able to go into the green room and have sex with their wives. It's nowhere in Islam that crap is allowed. He was making up his own stuff. So once again, he's disqualified. So this concludes part 11, Truman the Cosmic Peace in Wartime.